I've got another creepypasta that I'd like to read. This time, it's an Earthbound creepypasta by the name of Hackbound. So here it is. I am a collector of assorted hacks and bootlegs of video games. This is a portion of my journal about these strange and exotic oddities of gaming. I am writing again because of another hacked game I came upon. This time, a hacked Earthbound cartridge. From my previous encounter with Slenderman the game, I felt uneasy about buying another cartridge. I didn't know that Slenderman the game was a thing, and that it was on cartridge. But anyway, since it was near Halloween, I decided to buy one to see what it's like. It happened to be a hacked Earthbound and a normal Earthbound cart at the local flea market, Green Dragon, the creepiest flea market name around. The seller I always go to for hacked games had a few Earthbound hacks for me. One had a low-quality scanned label on it, another had a sticker named Winterbound, and the last was the most interesting. The bootleg was a blank SNES cartridge with Earthbound written in red Sharpie, but was smudged. The seller said they couldn't get the game to work due to lockout, but from what they were told from the previous owner that this was a rather nice hack with some eerie stuff in it. Seemed fitting for my Halloween game, so I bought the bootlegged hack for $8, while later I picked up the official game for $50. I was able to get it cheap because one seller had to get rid of his SNES games without knowing prices, and the reseller, who usually inhaled games like they were his sustenance, was sick. When I brought the games home, the SNES first locked out the hacked cartridge. To counter this, I made a cartridge specialized to bypass the lockout chip for my hacked games. I succeeded, and was greeted to the game's first intro, which was unchanged. After I started a new game, I saw burning houses, heard 16-bit screeches, and the music to Sonic CD's boss battles. Yeah, that creepy song, which was somehow sampled to play on the SNES, with a story that said this. In 1990X, in a small town in America, the evil demon Gygas was unleashed. He destroyed the town and soon spread throughout the land. The only one left alive was a small boy named Ness. However, Gygas had something in store for him in the near future. Ness awoke to the sight of his half-destroyed house. As I walked to the door, a text box appeared. It is quiet except for the sound of burning wood. Something has happened to your family, your friends, your town, and soon, you. Get dressed and leave quickly. The screen faded out and into Ness, now dressed with his clothes slightly charred. I navigated through the wreckage of the house and stumbled into the sister's room. There I found a present with the item Red Bat. I equipped it and realized that the present was next to a jumbled sprite of Ness's sister. The body, from what I could tell, looked bitten and scratched, as if by some animal. I fought the foe off with the bat. I saw a trail of pixelated red paw prints leading out the door and followed it downstairs. There I found the bodies of Ness's mom and their dog, King, who looked wrapped as if he was beaten with a blunt object. The mom looked the same as Ness's sister did, torn up from bite marks and scratches, making it obvious what had happened. Ness was staring at the mess locked in place like a cutscene for a minute before returning to normal. Then I noticed the music. It was the On It theme in reverse with occasional changes in pitches and speed. This song continued through both Ness's house and in On It. This scene was both sad and eerie at the same time, making me start to feel a little depressed. This hacker sure does know how to put on a mood, I commented aloud. I hope the rest of the story can get even more twisted. I was getting ready for what was yet to come anxiously. Searching around the area of Ness's house and On It, I noticed Pokey's house was completely gone, as if it didn't exist which for some reason felt a little odd to me. Also, the treasure hunter's house was destroyed with his dead body nearby, burnt. At the top of the hill there was no meteorite, but a burning tree with several dead bodies around it. After finding little on it except for the dead mare and an empty hospital. Oh yeah, just kind of move on over that, no big deal. I went to Tucson and could only find a few spiteful crows that gave me only 2 to 3 experience when I defeated them. Also, instead of the 16-bit sprite of the crow, it was the 8-bit sprite from the original Mother on the Famicom. The sprite that originally had a cigarette in its hand, wing. The music changed to some kind of corruption on it had, but this time it was Tucson's theme. Made sense. In the town, the only noticeable thing was that there were less dead bodies than in on it, implying that this direct destruction was spreading slowly. After I started advancing through to the next town, I noticed that there was less and less destruction till the game started playing fine again. The only thing was that I was under power now, and still had no companions. In fact, there were no companions, as if they had been erased from the plot, leaving me entirely alone. When I got to summer, everyone was noticeably gloomy. The runaway 5 were getting to leave the town, and said to Ness, "Run, dive, swim, don't stop," in order of left to right. After this point, some NPCs were telling Ness strange things like, "You're running out of time," and "You're too slow, you'll kill us all." So I left summer as soon as I could without having to do any quests. In fact, all I could do was walk directly to the end. As the game progressed, things became drearier from the fact of impending doom for the characters. The music tracks progressively became more depressed the further in the game I went, and color started to fade into black and white. Sprites had more and more depressing facial expressions as well. Just thinking of the knowledge that your inevitable death is soon, as if you were on death row, and that was what the characters were thinking. I have no idea what that sentence just said. By the time I made it to Saturn Valley, which had my most favorite song, was in reversed and slowed. The game was also completely black and white. Mr. Saturn was frowning and almost crying with antenna drooped, saying nothing. Then it was time to go back in time as a robot. When I entered Gygas's lair, I noticed that my robot looked worn and beat. I had no chance of winning. When I entered the boss room, Pokey right away sent out Gygas without saying a word, and then disappeared. While fighting Gygas, he was saying more than just his usual dialogue. These included, "You have no help, no friends, no family, no prayers." I was only level 3, which came after 4 hours of getting petty amounts of EXP from spiteful crows, and inevitably lost. Instead of the retry screen, a cutscene appeared of the earth being turned to fire. A caption below read, Japanese text that I can't read, which translated out to, "Look what you have caused. If it hadn't been for you, Ness would have made it," before cutting to black with the text, "Too slow." Just as I thought this was the end, a loud 16-bit scream emitted from the TV as an image of a mutilated face of Ness appeared with the caption, "Your fault," before cutting to black. After nothing happening, after a minute, I shut off the console. I realized that the end was made to depress who was playing into guilt and empathy. However, it didn't work, as I possess neither of these two feelings, as I can get through most anything gory and not feel a difference. However, I still had a slight bit of depression hanging on me for a week after playing. Yeah, and you're also a sociopath. The game is now in my personal collection with no expectation of being played soon, although it is the most intriguing piece of my collection of the macabre of Nintendo. So that is Hackbound, a wonderful little story of grammatical errors, sentences that make no sense, and just generally crap writing. So that's that. I'm so glad that I decided to read this.